Hey guys, this is Vanessa Dyer, and I'm the Charlotte, North Carolina-based lifestyle blogger behind thecheekybean.com. With several successful years as a business owner, a first-time mom, and a deep passion for health and wellness, I'm here to share my honest, unfiltered advice on all things motherhood, relationships, travel, and more. So grab a coffee and join the conversation. This is the Cheeky Bean Podcast. Welcome back to the Cheeky Bean Podcast. As promised, we are back with part 2 of the Marissa West of West Kept Secret episode. If you are just now tuning in, make sure that you go back and check out last week's episode where we did part 1. That one is doing incredibly well. It is chock full of incredible information, hacks, tips and tricks, and people are loving it so far. So again, this is part 2 of that episode. That said, we are doing a deep dive into the world of hormones today. Marissa is sharing her personal experience with hormone imbalances. She provides a ton of valuable information around how to support healthy hormones, some of her favorite hormone healthy recipes, how to alter your workout routine if you're going through a hormone journey of your own, and she shares several recommendations for experts in this field. With that, part 2 of Marissa West of West Kept Secret, here we go. I have had my own hormone journey. I know you have as well.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have also started to kind of incorporate hormones into the group fitness classes. You've always done that for me in my sessions, which is why I've always found so much value in working out with you. I had a hormone journey back in 2018. We fixed that. Now I'm starting to go down that same path again. So I just want to touch on your experience. I know you have mentioned particularly with low progesterone. Mm-hmm. Can you share a bit more about your experience with that and how it has impacted your health and wellness journey?
Absolutely. You don't know, you've been on birth control for years. I took the pill and I had an IUD, and my husband and I were like, well, let's remove it. Let's see what happens. And not getting pregnant immediately or even getting a period was a red flag for me. Like, okay, something's going on with my body. Checked in with my doctor, and I feel thankful. My doctor is not your typical OB. She has a little bit more of a holistic approach, which I very much appreciate.
Right.
And we realized, okay, something's going on here. We looked at my diet. We looked at my exercise routine. It all was syncing up that this shouldn't be the case. But there were a few small tweaks I could make, like adding more fats into my diet, which could help kind of jumpstart my period, get that back, along with some medication to kind of help me get that back, which I did, which was great. It was tough because when you take a medication at any time, even a supplement, it is going to have an impact on your body. And You're going to bloat. You're going to feel uncomfortable. There's going to be side effects.
Yeah.
And for me in my industry, that's hard. It can be really tough. And I just had to know it was for the best. And honestly, I thought to myself, okay, if I can go through this, I am more knowledgeable. I'm not just speaking from reading a textbook. I'm speaking from knowledge and a background, but also personal going through
experience.
And that is just an invaluable in any area. So we being able to go through this has really helped shape for me how I touch in with clients. And if we notice that there's a plateau with somebody, okay, we might need to check into this. Where in the past, that might have been later, a conversation later down the road. So I'm honestly thankful that I've been through this journey and I know how to properly check in with clients in a way that I might not have previously.
Yeah.
And I did modify my exercise routine as well. I still did my West Kept classes. I just modified the high impact. I was walking on the treadmill.
Yep.
I was still adding dumbbells into it. I know you and I do that a lot. I was taking any jumping down to keep my heart rate around 120, 130 versus 150, 160, which is typically where I'm at. And it took about 2 months, and we noticed that level was changing in a positive direction. And we've been monitoring it monthly, and it's been in a great spot. So
that's amazing.
Knowing that I can get pregnant, and hopefully that, at least from that perspective of that hormone, is not an issue anymore. There might be something else, of course, that pops up.
Yeah.
But knowing that is in an okay place has been really, really eye-opening for me, and important to know that my body is doing the right things that it needs to be doing to operate on all cylinders.
Yeah. And I know you love the Invigorate. You introduced me to the Invigorate, and I know stress plays a big role in hormones.
Yes.
Can you touch on any lifestyle practices or maybe self-care routines that have been beneficial for you in managing and balancing your hormones?
Definitely. So the Invigorate, I absolutely love. I will really be in regularly and then I'll kind of fall off, and I can tell when I've fallen off. So I'm going to get back in there now. So just wait. Jen, I'm going to be back in. She's my go-to girl there. But yeah, I love their IV drips. Those are just great to kind of make sure you have all of your vitamins if you're not getting them regularly.
Yep.
In addition, I have some hip issues that have kind of come and gone. So I love the leg compressions and the hip compressions. I know you and I have hung out there and just relaxed with the compressions. Exactly. And I also have done the sauna just from the, red light and the relaxation perspective there, which has been huge. And another self-care item that has been really helpful for me has been acupuncture. And I have an acupuncturist I really, really love. She's great also for fertility, if that's something that you or any listeners are interested in. She's with Inner Peace, and they're actually right by the studio, which is really cool. I've walked over there before.
You go to a West Cup class and then go get acupuncture.
Yeah, right on Kenilworth. Her name's Adrienne, and she focuses on balancing hormones. So you can bring in your hormone panel that you've done with your doctor or with Raya, which is really cool.
I need to go check this out.
Yeah, I just did a few sessions with her before just to make sure like this is exactly what it sounds like, because I've had other clients recommend her, and I was like, I'm so excited to tell you about this and talk about it on the podcast. But you can bring your hormone panel in. She can kind of look at everything and then prescribe specific supplements for you that can support what we need to change, whether it's cortisol or high or low testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, whatever it is. I'm on a few supplements right now that she recommended, which I'm excited. I've only been on them for a month now. So just getting in that groove. And then acupuncture, depending on what you need to focus on, stress management, fertility, she can get you on that path. So that has been something I've been loving and highly recommend, because you can also chat her regularly in addition to your doctor. Because it's like sometimes you just need a vent.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated. My weight isn't budging, and she is just a great sounding board to have your back. And I can work with her if you're a client of mine to kind of understand and work holistically together to get the best path and workout and nutrition plan together for you. So she's somebody else I highly recommend as well.
That's amazing. Yeah. I've heard a lot of benefits of acupuncture. Haven't tried it myself, but
you would love it, Vanessa.
I also know it induces labor, because your girl was 2 weeks late with Liam, and that was like my last straw. I was like, if he doesn't come and this induction does not happen, I am going to get acupuncture. But then we scheduled the induction and I never had to do it. But
hey, now you know for backup.
Lots of benefits.
Lots of benefits. Great for relaxation. You almost, when you're done, feel like kind of like in a zone, and you're relaxed. It's just amazing. So you don't want to plan a workout after.
Does it hurt?
Not at all. It's literally just like a little ding, zing on your arm, or your ears or your head, depending on where they do it. And then I actually fell asleep during it. And she came in, I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be to scare you. But that's how relaxed I was. And that's hard for me to do, to take a fall asleep.
Oh, I love that.
And it's 30 minutes.
Okay, it's next on my docket.
Amazing.
All right. I also wanted to ask you, in what ways have you seen the connection between hormone imbalances and physical performance or body composition? How does understanding that shape the workouts that you provide in the gym and in our program? Because I know I have definitely seen changes in my physical body composition due to hormones, which it tends to fluctuate all over the place. It's kind of like being on a roller coaster ride, which lucky for me is definitely not the most fun, but you have also been able to see that and then tailor my workouts to kind of help me through that. And I know that I also have followers who may be purchasing the program or already doing the program who are in a similar boat. So what has been your experience with how that works? Definitely.
I think first and foremost, reminding yourself that if you are diagnosed with a hormone imbalance, and remember, we're using that word very loosely, that could be anything from estrogen dominance, testosterone dominance, or a weakness there. It could be cortisol.
Or a lack of testosterone.
Right. It could be, there are so many hormones that can affect your results. So if you have been diagnosed with a hormone imbalance, you have to first just give yourself grace and understand that your results might not be a reflection of work ethic. And that is very hard to compute. I know for me, with the low progesterone, I was a lot leaner, but as that got to a level that was where it should be, there was some additional weight and body fat that came back on for me. That was, this is really where you're supposed to be, Marissa. And that's okay. And my doctor had also said it might not all have had to do with the IUD and whatnot. There was a lot of stress that had just taken place in my life that I have to recognize. I have to accept that. I think when you're in it, you don't realize it. You're just going day in and day out. And it's like the next thing, I've got to get through this. Then you get to a moment where you're breathing and you're like, oh my gosh, my body has just been, and my mind has just been through, 8 months of trauma. I've got to give myself some grace.
Right.
So if you're in that position, you have to remind yourself, okay, there is an imbalance with my hormones. That doesn't mean my results can't happen. That means I might need to tweak things. And first, I'm just going to be thankful that I have an answer, because that can be very frustrating. So if you have an answer, that's great. Give yourself some grace. Once that kind of grace period, you're like, okay, I'm ready to dive in. That's when it's time to look at, what is your doctor recommended? They might have given you recommendations. I know my doctor did, but there are doctors who just kind of say, good luck.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
I've experienced that. You have to advocate for yourself, especially in traditional medicine, really hard, which I've never been able to figure out why it's that way. But even if your hormone panels come back normal, like in my instance, they came back normal, but they're all on the very, very low end of the range. So they are, if normal is 3, mine is right on 3, and I'm telling them, hey, if you look at my past 10 hormone panels over the years, I've always sat in the middle of the range and I felt great. So I know that the symptoms that I'm feeling right now are because everything is not at an optimal level. So what can we do for me to get there? And for some reason, I can't, it's really hard to get traditional doctors to listen to that, because they just look at that range and they're like, well, you're in the normal range, so there's not really anything that we can do. So what I found is that with a holistic doctor, I've had better luck, which unfortunately is not insured.
Right.
So it becomes really expensive to go down that path. And I've had to kind of just really advocate and push harder and find, I've been to 4 or 5 different doctors to try to see if I can get somebody to listen to me who will run the panels and work with me that is covered by my insurance.
Right.
So I would say, don't give up.
Absolutely.
If you're not hearing what you want to hear and your doctor isn't willing to work with you, try and see if you can get a different recommendation and go in there and say hey, please don't write me off, because I'm really frustrated by that already.
Absolutely. And I think I have a great recommendation for an OB. Her name is Dr. Hansen Lindner. I'm sure other women have seen her. I know I have at least 5 clients who, we were talking. I'm like, oh my God, that's who your doctor is?
Yeah, you've spoken really highly of her.
She's very tough to get into, unfortunately, but she is someone who's not going to give up. And I very much appreciate that about her. And I would say this tip as well. Sometimes we get just general panels done at our primary care doctor, and those all come back normal. But there are female panels like the testosterone and the estrogen that you're not going to see on a regular panel. That's, your cortisol and your other general hormones that you might have to go to your OB and ask for that as well. Right. So don't hesitate. If everything comes back normal on your primary care, go to your OB and say, hey, I want this blood panel worked up, because that can be an extra layer. And then if you look and they're still in that range, like what you experienced, they're on the lower end, don't give up there. If your doctor is not willing to listen to you and take into consideration your symptoms, that's a red flag. It's time to move on. Right. And if you find a doctor who says, you know what, okay, your symptoms, you're so fatigued, you can't even get through the day, that is not normal.
No.
If you are bloated every time you eat food, that is not normal. There are these specific indicators that when you go on Dr. Google, which I'm so guilty of doing,
Dr. Google.
I'm like, I know that there's something wrong, but that's telling me I have 5 different things. It could be cancer, it could be this, it could be that. And then you start going down that road. But don't be afraid to be an advocate for yourself, find the right doctor. And then from there, even if you have a support team, like, for example, a personal trainer, for example, me, I am now very, very aware of hormones and how that can play a role. So if a client says to me, I'm like, how was your workout week? And we're doing measurements and they're not getting results right there. I look into this entire picture. Okay. How motivated are they? Okay, this person is highly motivated. I'll use you for an example. Highly motivated, type A individual. I'm not worried about what they're doing on the outside, because I know they're completing their workouts. Right. We'd have that conversation. Okay, check there. They're telling me they're highly fatigued. They're, maybe they have a low sex drive, whatever that is. And that to me, it's like, okay, these are some red flags that there could be something going on deeper than what I can see. But I know on my end, I might want to start addressing and tweaking the workout so I can help what I can control as one of their holistic providers. So right there, I'm going to start tweaking cardio and dialing that down and doing other types of strength training, like on the Pilates reformer, to help combat whatever they're going through. If that is weight gain or that is gain right in the midsection, I'm going to do everything in my power to set them up for success with my abilities and my background. And from there, I also will lean into the nutrition piece.
Yeah.
So we can do some food journaling. Where are we having a deficit? Or maybe we need to beef up fats, carbs, protein, and really dive into those macros. And I think people are surprised when they food journal. It's like, for example, my macros, my protein, it should really be like 170. And sometimes I look, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm barely hitting 100. Yeah. Okay, I really need to dial this up and lean into this. Not really worry about the calories, but worry about these macronutrients. And we do that with our clients at West Kept Secret, because you can't just say, this person's not motivated, they're not getting results, it's on them.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's so much more to the big picture that if your trainer, if your doctor, if your acupuncturist, whoever you're seeing is not looking into this and asking questions on your behalf, it might be time to switch providers.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I love that you guys do have the nutrition piece of it.
Yes.
Because I also think a lot of people struggle with nutrition. Like, to your point, 170 grams of protein, like, first of all, is that what you eat a day?
Now, yes,
That's
it is.
amazing.
Which is a lot.
But also, I've always heard like 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And for me, when I was doing that, I actually felt worse.
Yeah.
And so it was like protein overload. I actually function much better around 80 to 100 grams of protein, but also it takes a lot longer to build muscle that way.
Right.
So I think when you actually map it out and you look at MyFitnessPal and you're tracking it, yeah, it's a task, but if you can do it for a little bit of time, like say you give yourself 1 to 3 months of logging it, you can get a clear picture of where you're at on an average every single day.
Right.
And then it becomes intuitive. Like after that, I'm like, oh, okay, when I make my breakfast, I know on average it's around 25 grams of protein. I don't need to log it because I eat this on a regular basis.
Right.
I'm also very routine, so that helps. But I think a lot of people don't do that, or they've never done that. So they think that they're somewhere and they're like, yeah, I'm getting my protein in, or yeah, I'm getting my calories in. And then when they're actually putting it in MyFitnessPal, they're under eating severely. They're at like 1,100, 1,200 calories a day. And then they're like, well, I don't know why I can't, put on muscle, or I don't know why this is happening. Or it's the flip side and they're, way over on fats or something like that.
Right.
So I think that if you can log, and you can work with somebody like you or work with a dietitian or a nutritionist, it's so beneficial just to get the clear picture of where you're at on an average on a daily basis for X amount of time.
Definitely. And even when we have clients and they're like, I want a food journal, but I have plenty of clients who have mentioned I've struggled from an eating disorder, or, logging calories, carbs, protein, fat. That is triggering for me. And I totally understand that.
Yeah.
So what we try to do in that situation is say, okay, let's shoot for 3 days. And let's do like a Wednesday, a Friday, and a weekend, so we can get a whole picture of, the kind of the best part of your week potentially, or a Monday. Some folks tend to be better at the beginning of the week, end of the week, and then a weekend. And even if you're not putting in all of the calories, carbs, protein, so on and so forth, you're just putting the item down, I can then go in and have a pretty good idea of where that's going to fall. Right. And I can fill those numbers in and then provide feedback, because I know that can be tough. I know, clients have mentioned that to me in the past. So I always try to find a solution when there's a problem like that, to get around to try to support every client, because everyone's journey is different. Like for you, you will only know that too much protein is too much protein if you try it.
I tried
and
it.
You go, okay, that's not working for me. And
yeah, I'm like way down. I'm super bloated. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm doing what I'm being told to do.
Right.
And I'm just not feeling good. And so then we're like, okay, dial it back a little bit. And then the bloating went away. So it was like a direct correlation between just my body can't process that much protein.
Right.
And
absolutely.
It's just another example of like everybody's body functions differently. The general rule of thumb, like 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, is probably great for most people, but not all people. So.
Right. And that's what we have as fitness professionals, this general guideline for folks to be able to follow, for us to be able to follow. But there's always a variance, and we have to consider that. And I do think that Fitness it's not black and white.
Right.
You will learn that very quickly once you get into this industry. It is so gray, and there are so many different ways to help treat someone within our scope that is successful and can be beneficial for each individual. And this process, it can be frustrating, and it is not going to be overnight, but you have to almost find just gratitude in the process. I know that there's an issue.
Right.
I'm working through it, and I'm going to come out having a better understanding of if this is to happen again or with a different hormone and what to do next time. So it's almost like just finding beauty in this process, because you will come out on the other side. It's hard. It's hard.
I have really had to do that myself, but I've also learned a lot through the process. Like I didn't know that after you have a baby, it takes your body anywhere from 18 months to 24 months to fully get back to normal. And so I felt so good because your body does whatever it needs to do to sustain a healthy pregnancy. And then you're breastfeeding and it's still doing what it needs to do to be able to provide milk for your baby. In my mind, I just thought by the standards and things that you see on social media that like, oh, okay, like 6 to 12 months, you're kind of back to normal and that's where you live. And then for me at the 2-year mark was when I started to just feel not good again. And I was like, wow, I felt so good for so long. What's happening? And what I learned through that process is like, well, you probably have finally settled where you're going to settle, and all those hormones from having a baby and your body doing what it needed to do to breastfeed and your body doing what it needed to do to carry a healthy baby, the dust has settled. And now the stress that you are carrying on a daily basis is affecting your cortisol level, and all of that on a daily basis is landing me here.
You know, and I've kind of made this up myself. I'm sure that there is some kind of terminology for it, but what you're talking about is, in my opinion, what I call the 5th trimester.
Yes.
That no one talks about, because no one talks about the 4th trimester.
No.
But no one ever talks about the 5th. The 5th.
Right.
And the 5th is really that 2-year mark where things settle. Maybe you're having another baby, or maybe you're getting back into work. You're finding your groove again. You're feeling great. And then things start to settle. You fall in this routine and life picks up, and now you have a toddler. Your baby's walking. They're doing so much more, and you're trying to keep up with that. And imbalances start to happen.
Right.
And you just think it's normal. I know we talked about this.
Yeah.
It's normal to be exhausted. It's normal.
Oh my gosh. And the amount of doctors who have said, well, you run a business and you have a 2.5-year-old. Like this is, I think any nurse here would say this is a level of normal exhaustion. And I'm looking at him like, do you think that I'm crazy? Because this is not normal. Right. I've had this business and I've had this child for the last 2.5 years and I haven't felt this way. It's not normal.
Right. There's something else going on. And I think just knowing that there can be a 5th trimester and realizing that that's there and having someone to support you. So I know there've been countless times you've walked in, I can tell right on your face, you're not okay. And you'll step on the treadmill and I'm like, how are we doing? And you're like, you know, I'm really struggling and I'm feeling down. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm fatigued, or I was doing really great and now I don't feel like I am. And we had that conversation and you're able to hopefully feel supported. I know I can't fix it right there, but you can at least leave knowing you've got a great workout and a safe workout in to support you on your journey. But again, finding a support system is so important. It really helps you leave kind of going, okay, I'm not alone. That's the hardest part about this, is feeling alone. Like, something's wrong with me. I'm defective.
Right.
How did this happen? Because I know I've heard doctors saying to clients of mine who've mentioned this fact, you know, you did this by adding more onto your plate from a work perspective.
Right.
Doing too much. And it's like, that is so it's inappropriate is the best way to put it. But I think
one doctor told me that testing hormones is trendy.
Yes, we did have that conversation.
I was like, excuse me?
And you know what? You know why it's trendy, if they want to call it trendy? It's trendy because people are realizing something is going on.
Right. You know, women are waking up being like, hold on a second. This isn't normal. Like, I shouldn't feel like this on a daily basis.
Right.
And there's more and more research around it and more people are talking about it. And so I think they're seeing it more because people are just realizing that isn't the norm. Like, you not having a sex drive is not normal.
Correct.
You know, feeling stressed out or being really sensitive to stress is not normal. Being exhausted all day long is not normal.
Definitely. And I think we as consumers, we're waking up, and I think we're realizing, like with big pharma, a fix is not going to be, I'm just going to put you on this medication.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if you are struggling with depression, for example, that is absolutely necessary potentially for someone to come out of that. So not saying that that's something that you should avoid if you need it, but I think that we as patients, consumers, we're realizing and waking up, having access to social media, TikTok, Instagram, and seeing there is a hashtag for hormone imbalance or hormone journey, hormone recovery, and realizing you're not alone. That's us waking up and then being advocates for ourselves. And, that doctor can call it trendy all they want, but it is us realizing that something is not right and taking control of our own health. And I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. Are there any exercises or specific workout techniques that you find particularly beneficial for anyone dealing with a hormone imbalance? I know that we have really dialed back the HIIT portion of the workout for me. And I do, I'll walk and lift weights at the same time. But what would you recommend for people? Maybe someone doing our program, or maybe they're not local to Charlotte. They can't come into the West gym to see you. Do you have any specific, workouts or movements that you would recommend for those people?
Definitely. I think that first and foremost, walking is so underrated, and walking for a hormone imbalance, it could be any hormone imbalance, is always going to be a safe bet. And doing that on the treadmill or outside is going to be great, and doing it at different inclines and different intervals. So one example is I know that you've mentioned a program, a walking program.
The 12-3-30.
Yeah, I know that you said that has been
12 incline, 3 miles an hour for 30 minutes.
Beneficial. And I think that that's great. And I think there's multiple ways to do it. And I'm a big fan actually of doing quarter miles. So doing 2 or 3 quarter miles, that would be typically, if you're walking at 20 minutes a mile and you're doing that twice, that would be 40 minutes.
Yep.
And then if you're doing 3 miles, that would be close to an hour. And doing that, and every quarter mile, changing the upper body you're doing. So for example, if you're walking with 3-pound dumbbells and you're just doing bicep curls, nice and slow and controlled for that quarter mile, and then switching to tricep kickbacks, for example, or an overhead shoulder press every quarter mile, doing that and then repeating that, let me tell you, so beneficial. It's going to get your heart rate in a safe zone that's not going to aggravate any of your hormones. And it's going to continue to lean out your upper body, build lean muscle. And it also is a great distraction from the walking.
Yes.
You have to kind of like tune into what you're doing if you have a show going on or music.
Right.
And before you know it, it's your next quarter mile. And that's been really fun. I've done that, and I do that pretty regularly. And if you're an outdoor walker, having just 1 or 2 pound ball of hand weights on and walking, enjoying the scenery, again, very beneficial to build upper body strength in a lean way. 20 to 30 minutes and enjoying the weather while you can. Just so underrated. Can't recommend it enough. So that's just kind of on the cardio side. And even outdoor biking, also a great option. Indoor biking as well. But outdoor biking, again, highly underrated, and it delivers big results. Okay. Then just in general, for movements in general, doing like a low impact circuit. So for example, doing squats, like if you're a big impact person, you're doing squat jumps, you're doing jumping lunges, you're doing burpees, taking those movements that you might love. This is speaking from experience, somebody who loves just high energy type of movements, taking those high impact movements and then scaling them down. So for example, you can still do squats, you can do them quickly, and you can do them with no jumping. So you can change your feet with them. You can go forward or turn out into more of a ballet or sumo squat. You can lift one heel up to pulse, other side. That's going to continue to tone and shred your legs up without that impact and without getting your heart rate so high where that's where that imbalance starts to happen.
Yeah.
Then adding, if you're doing that for 2 minutes, for example, some kind of squat series or lunge series, moving into an upper body series, whether that's with dumbbells or just in place, like in our program, doing slow push-ups, doing single arm tricep kickbacks, overhead biceps or shoulder presses. And again, another 2 minutes there, moving into core work, same idea, oblique hip dips, elbows, taking the jumping and the impact down and focusing more on slow and controlled movements, and also a 3-2-1 variation. So I know we do that a lot. For example, if you're in a side plank and you're doing a hip dip, and we typically think up, down, up, down, and taking that slower and thinking slowly driving up, 3, lift 2, lift 1, slowly coming back down. Again, 3, 2, 1, back down. That slower range of motion is going to still burn out that muscle group, but it's going to do it in a way that, again, your heart rate is staying 110, 120, maybe 130, and really shred up and burn up those muscles. So just 2 minutes of legs, 2 minutes of arms, 2 minutes of abs. If you want to throw in that cardio, getting onto the treadmill for a quarter or a half mile and then repeating again, doing that again 2 or 3 times, great workout. And now you're in a hormone safe place that is going to deliver results and also do it in a safe way. And my tip is sometimes people think, oh my God, I didn't burn as many calories as when I did this full out with the impact. My counter to that is, and I think we've had this conversation, you can still get results if the impact or your calorie burn is lower. It's just going to take a little bit longer. And that's okay. Be at peace with that. Maybe instead of, if you're running 6 miles, 3 times a week versus walking, of course, those results might come a little bit quicker, but at what cost? For the long term. So you have to evaluate, is it worth getting results in 1 month versus 3 months? And I think we can all agree the 3-month trajectory plan is always going to be better for the long term.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other thing I've noticed throughout this journey is there's really not that much information around how you can support your hormones with nutrition.
Yes.
Are there any specific foods that you would recommend that maybe support a healthy hormone balance? I know that for you specifically, you mentioned that adding in a little bit more fats was what you needed. It's probably different for everybody based on where they're at in their hormone journey. But is there a food or a snack or something specific that kind of covers that blanket altogether that you would recommend?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the 3 main kind of superfoods in general that are great are chia seeds. And actually I have a way that you can add those into anything. So for example, my husband always makes these amazing acai bowls and he'll put fruit in it and then chia seeds kind of mixed in with the granola. And that's a great,
Rob, I'm coming over.
Come on over. We normally do it on Sunday. It's kind of our Sunday fun day treat. We did it yesterday actually, since we're recording on a Monday, but he's been adding those in and that promotes, just in general, it's a good hormone balancer all across the board. It has some superfood antioxidants, helps with gut inflammation. So you can add those into there. And also we have a really quick chia seed pudding. I know some people don't like the consistency. I'm just obsessed with this and it's easy to make. And I'm not a cooker. I'm not a baker. I'm not a kitchen girl at all. But if I can make this, anyone can make it. And it is you take either almond or any kind of milk, oat milk, any kind of milk that you like that doesn't cause inflammation or cause any kind of gut issues for you. You take that, you take the chia seeds in it. You can add maple syrup. You can add honey, any kind of sweetener. You let it congeal. You have to find the right ratio, of course. And sometimes it's really watery for me. Robert normally always makes it because I'm not the best, but I can get it. You let that congeal overnight and next day, it's like the simplest chia seed recipe that you can find. That's a great one. And it fills you up for the day and kind of is a great snack that you can munch on. And especially if it's kind of cold and it's in a lunchbox, that's nice on like a summer day. So chia seeds are amazing. In addition, avocados. Avocados are like that secret. Oh gosh, I love them. Good. And you can put it on anything. You can put them on eggs. Yes. You can put them on a salad. You can eat them by themselves. You can put them on
avocado
salmon.
Toast, guacamole.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, I think avocados are just, people, write them off and I know that they're expensive, but they're worth it. And they even adding in 1 or 2 avocados into your weekly routine, same thing as these chia seeds. They have good, healthy fats. They're going to support really any hormone imbalance in general and really fill you up as well and make whatever meal you're eating more filling in general. So if you have avocados on a chicken salad, that is going to fill you up for way longer than just chicken and some other things on there. So I highly recommend adding that in. And then of course, if you are a fish eater, salmon. Salmon is kind of the gold standard for hormone recovery from a fish standpoint. And it has lots of antioxidants and it's a great way to good omegas exactly to kind of support you and regulate your hormones. So those are kind of like my big 3 that if you like all of those, that's great. If not, DM me, we'll talk. So I have some other suggestions.
Now I have to ask on the salmon front. So does it have to be like a grilled piece of salmon, or does smoked salmon, like lox and bagel, do the same thing?
Totally fine. Absolutely. You're not losing it when you do that. That's a great question.
Your girl loves lox and bagel.
Yes, absolutely. And also to kind of another sub of that is like tilapia is a great option as well. So if you don't love salmon, try some of the other cousins around there. Cod is another one, and that's a lot less expensive. There are other options. And maybe we do because I have a ton of others, maybe we do a story that is just kind of hormone recovery, what I've recommended for you or for myself and just clients in general that are kind of like meals and snacks. I think that might be helpful because I agree with you. There's not a lot of information out there. And it's normally what I'm listing off 3 things. And it's like, okay, well, are there more options than there are? So maybe we do something like that because I feel like that could be really beneficial.
For
our
something
followers.
that our listeners are interested in, maybe you guys can comment on our social media posts around this podcast and let us know. I think it's a great idea.
I have tons of additional recommendations to try.
Very cool. I know you're like a wealth of knowledge. It's amazing.
Well, thank you. I love what I do. And I love to learn as well. Like I want to know more. So I'm digging, I'm learning. I want to find out as much as possible so I can be that wealth of knowledge for others as well.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who suspects that maybe they have a hormone imbalance, but they haven't actually gone through the process of receiving that diagnosis?
Sure. First and foremost, I would journal your symptoms. So,
Smart.
And I would do that for at least a month. And I know that can be tough, but just a quick at night. How did you feel first thing in the morning? Checking in. And there is a worksheet. I have to find it, but maybe we can add that into the show notes or there as well. But there is a hormone worksheet where you can kind of go through. It's like, how did you feel when you woke up? Sex drive level, like 1 to 10. Where is that falling? Every day for a month. And that really can give you a good picture where you can look at different hormones and go, you can almost self-diagnose. Now, do I recommend that? Not necessarily because you're again, and I'm the worst. I do that all the time where I'm like self-diagnosing. However, it can give you ammo. So when you go into your doctor, you're informed, you have an idea, and you can start advocating and pushing for the right panels and saying, based on this worksheet, I'm already looking like maybe it could be cortisol, maybe it could be estrogen.
Right.
And I want to test everything, but I really want to hone in on these. And the doctor was probably going to agree with you. Yeah. And they might have some additional tips. But if you go into an appointment like that with your primary, your OBG, or a holistic doctor, you are so much better set for success and you're already 5 steps ahead. Yeah. You're not asking questions, you're delivering answers. And then your doctor can ask those questions and you can move forward with the diagnosis a lot quicker.
I love that advice. I actually do that. So now that I'm on a supplement regimen to try to get this hormone imbalance back on the right track, I actually track every single day. I don't have the worksheet. I'd love to see that.
I'll say I have to send that to you.
But I do track just in a note in my phone how I feel every single day, because if you don't, life moves so fast. Then the next time you go to your follow-up appointment, they're like, okay, how have things been over the last month? You're like, I don't know. I think good. You know, unless you have it to go back and look in your phone, I can say, okay, well, out of the last 30 days, like I only felt great 5 according to my log here, or the other way around. It's like, okay, I think I'm seeing progress. I felt good 25 out of 30 days.
Right.
So logging your symptoms, I think, is so key, even like you said, prior to getting that diagnosis, but also after, because I think a lot of people get this, this supplement regimen and they're just taking them, but they're not actually truly paying attention to how they feel. And it's really hard to figure out where to go when you can't actually look back and see if it's working outside of, obviously testing again, but it's easy to see, okay, I actually do feel better. I think this is working. Or I don't feel better at all. Let's up the dosage or, come up with a different regimen. Definitely.
And I think, especially from a female perspective, checking in with your period, how heavy is it? Is it a 28-day cycle? Are you ovulating? Maybe you aren't ovulating. I know I wasn't ovulating, and, doing the ovulation sticks, that's great. And I know we had talked about this. I have an app, it's called OVA, and it was made by a doctor who was having issues with fertility and just hormones in general. And when you're peeing on the stick, it will tell you kind of your levels. So it's, I think, pretty close to what you would be testing from a lab. It doesn't have everything, But that was really helpful for me. And then understanding your cycle and how heavy your periods are, what color your period blood is. I know these things seem disgusting, but it is really what it matters, because that's going to tell you your health. Same thing with a bowel movement. What is that looking like for you? Is it regular? Gut health matters. And looking at these indicators can really tell you a lot about what's going on. So I think that that's important. So that's included in this worksheet. And then from there, being open from your doctor and potentially a holistic provider, and being open to both recommendations. And maybe it is true prescribed medication. Maybe it is a supplement regimen. And if you do a supplement regimen, my one tip is you got to give it 30 days. People will take it for a week or 2 weeks. Nothing's happening. And it's like, listen, you've got a month minimum, because you will not see any change.
And honestly, I mean, I've been testing my hormones monthly, and it actually, I would say really 3 months.
3 months. Yeah.
Because after a month, like the difference is marginal. And a lot of these really don't start to build up in your system until you're at that like 120 day mark, which yes, it sucks taking that many supplements a day. I absolutely hate it. I wish there was an easier fix, but I also don't just, your traditional doctor is going to say, just get back on birth control. That'll replace all those hormones for you. But I don't want to do that. You know? That's covering up the problem, not fixing the root cause of the problem.
Exactly.
So yeah, I
So
agree.
being open to giving it time and being open to conventional and holistic medicine, maybe both is going to be the best approach for you as an individual. I know that was the case for me. But now I'm leaning more towards only supplements. That's all that I'm on. And I feel great. And I think that you have to look at it from other lenses. You can't take everything your doctor or your holistic provider is saying for face value.
Right.
But just understanding they do have your best interest. But if they are seeming not to, you need to dig deeper or find somebody else and be open to what could be going on, and never take no for an answer, or you're crazy or this is normal. That is the kiss of death for someone to be able to move forward, is just saying, I'm accepting that this is how it is. That doesn't have to be the way that it is. Be formidable. Just keep pushing until you get the right answers, because you will come out on the other side. I've had to do that for myself. I know you have as well.
Yeah.
And I'll advocate for clients if they're like, I'm not seeing results from a physical fitness side. Can you write something up that I can show my doctor I am doing what they're telling me from an exercise perspective? And I'm always happy to do that. And that has gone a long way with clients when the doctors are like, do more exercise. Well, I am. I'm literally seeing a trainer
here's what I'm doing.
Twice a week. I'm doing these activities on my own. Here's a note from my trainer. And that has held a lot of weight for doctors as well. So don't be afraid to ask your providers, whoever it is, for assistance and support.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I really like that. All right, last question. What are your long-term goals and aspirations for incorporating hormone health into your fitness programs and the impact that you hope to have in that space?
Sure. I think that, again, personally going through it, it has such a bigger impact. And I would love other women to know that they're not alone. So for me, being able to include that, I know we did a social media post about that recently.
And it did great.
It was so great. It was so amazing hearing from so many clients who I didn't even know that they were going through this. And they have already, I might not see them every day because I'm not teaching these classes, but I had multiple clients reach out and say, I love that you are touching on this because I am going through X imbalance. And I do tell my trainer at the start of class, and they're so great about modifying and adjusting and working with me. But just putting that out there was the first step. So just letting other women, specifically men as well, but no, they're not alone. That was kind of number one, just getting it out there on social media. And then from there, continuing to educate on it and touching on it and not just letting that be a one-time thing.
Right.
I think even doing a hormone series of different imbalances and what that can look like, and even further catering from an exercise and nutrition perspective. If this is the hormone imbalance, how do we deal with that?
Right.
That can be done on social media. That's definitely done in our one-on-one sessions and catering, but just bringing awareness to it from our camp of our methodology, and how can you still do the workout you know and love and get results, but deal with this hormone imbalance and not make it any worse, make it better.
Right.
So for me, bringing awareness, whether that's social media or through podcasts like this with you and other, creators locally or nationally, I think is definitely important. And getting other fitness professionals on board, I think is important. And definitely making sure our staff is educated at West Kept Secret is just top priority, but also just holding that space for other fitness enthusiasts or trainers or nutritionists to speak about this, and us all maybe get together and discuss this. What have you seen with your clients? How do you deal with this? And providing education. And I would love to potentially long-term maybe develop a course on this that we can educate not only our staff, but others, because it is so important. And there's not enough information. It's not talked about enough.
Agreed.
So I have all kinds of goals and aspirations for it to really channel this area and make it more accessible for other women to get results and feel good about themselves and really get results in the process.
I love it. Well, this was so much fun. Thank you for coming back a third time.
Thank you.
This episode was full of information. So hopefully you guys found it helpful. Hopefully there's a tip or a trick that's useful to you guys.
This is a good one.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. So if you've been hesitant about buying the program, here's your opportunity. What are we going to do? Cheeky 15?
Yeah, let's do that. I feel like that's a good deep discount, and that's worth it. Let's do it.
All right, cool. Well, I can't wait to sweat with you guys. We'll drop the link to the program in the show notes. Go to check out, use code Cheeky15. We'll see you in the community forum. Drop us a line. We'd love to say hi.
It's fun in there.
Yes, it's fun in there. The party is popping.
It is.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your preferred podcast platform, and leave us a review. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us bring you more valuable content.